If you willingly sign back to a company where you know a sex pest is working at, and you know that they're going to use your return as a cover to say that, no, it's okay that this sex pest, this guy who's named in a major lawsuit for our entire industry, that it's okay for him to be here because he brings in the numbers, then you're a fucking hypocrite when you say that you care about women's wrestling. All this to say, I hope that Ion specifically, but pretty much anyone who's still watching WWE, realizes that probably at John Cena's return, in December, you should not be shocked if Vince McMahon is sitting in a nice box seat with Donald Trump. You shouldn't be shocked at this point. And that's not to say AEW doesn't have their problems. They have the same problems that the entire wrestling industry has, with the amount of people named in sexual harassment and sexual assault cases being in their company. But at least, they're not bending over backwards to keep these people. Chris Jericho's pretty much good and gone. And I think Darby Allin's the only one that they're still actually, banking off of, but quite honestly, I feel like, and this is a bad thing to say, because obviously not every single victim is going to be able to make an assault case, but I feel like the second that an assault case is made, he's good as gone too. Unlike fucking the Piss Kink Company. Anyway, welcome back to another episode of Last Week in Comics. Stat got me incredibly sick, so this is just what we're working with this week. Me being sick, and also the window. I had to film this on Saturday, during the day instead of at night. This is gonna be probably the most rambly episode I think we've ever had. I'm cold. I'm dying. I don't handle being sick well. But yet I'm still out here recording because Stack is even sicker because Stack's immune system isn't built like mine. Ugh. We need to actually start talking about comics now. First, kind of number one release for this week is, of course, Batman #1 by Matt Fraction. I did read it. I skimmed through it because, again, you would have to seriously pay me to care about Batman books. Why was there transphobia in this Batman comic? And I know what you're saying, Ash, what the fuck do you mean there's transphobia in the Batman comic? Okay, so in the opening scene, we see this group. Again, they're meant to just kind of be gender non-conforming. That is what they are meant to be. Who are chasing after these two women to assault them and wear their clothes is the best case scenario that I can think of here. If you see, they're wearing, their bras, and they are having scissors, to insinuate that they're going to cut off their clothes and then wear them. Every single reading of this is, in some part, transphobic. There's just, no way around it. It's, that one thing. It's Buffalo Bill. That's what they're doing here. Where they're this group of serial killers is killing women and then wearing their clothes. I don't know what else this is supposed to be. Daystar, our lovely mutual Daystar, also was this could also be read as lesbophobic, which, crazy. What the fuck is happening in Batman comics now? The rest of the story is just kind of a nothing burger of a first issue. Which is weird because Fraction himself said that, every issue is going to be self-contained, because he's dipping his hands into Ryan North's nachos. And it's not just Fantastic Four that Ryan North does, that every issue can kind of stand on its own. It's also Crypto. He did it in Crypto. Regardless, Matt Fraction wants fucking Ryan North's nachos because what am I talking about? I'm so sick. I don't really know how else we can interpret this scene. I'm pulling it back up on my phone because of course I have. There's really no other way that you can interpret this. Maybe it's the blue hair and pronouns thing. That's essentially what's happening in this image. It's
No, it's not. It's worse than that.
It's worse than that. Okay, and I also found Jorge Jimenez's notes about it. So, because he posted something out, I think this occurs at the end where they're kind of like, oh hey, we don't have like a section for fan letters yet because the book just started. Let me show you some behind the scenes things. These caricatures are called the Creeps, and so Jorge Jimenez's kind of quote about it is, "I'm working on Gotham City's visual identity, giving it a fresh approach that sets it apart from my previous states. I'm aiming for a slight pop influence, something that subtly nods to classic stories while keeping the dark and ominous feel of contemporary Batman." By nods to classic stories, do you mean the rampant transphobia in older comics?
Is he talking about the way that Joker used to be queer-coded?
I think he might be talking about the way that Joker used to be queer-coded, which Jorge Jimenez, weird, to say the least. Now that I'm thinking of it, I don't know who to blame more in this case, Matt Fraction or Jorge Jimenez. This again goes to like the whole thing of like how much control does the artist have over the book than the writer. It's all a mess. Don't buy Batman books. I feel like if you take anything from my channel, it's 100% don't buy Batman books, especially now. Like, I know that everyone was like hoping that like, oh wow, we're getting Matt Fraction on Batman. Hopefully a Batman run's gonna be good, and then the first issue had transphobia in it, and I don't... I'm laughing because it hurts. I'm laughing because there's a mass rise in conservatism in comic books and comic book spaces, and it sucks so bad, man. There's a mass rise in conservatism on, like, everything. Like, I can't even fucking enjoy wrestling anymore. At least if I watch WWE. My Ring of Honor subscription, pretty fucking nice. The other number one, the better number one that came out this week, Adventures of Superman, Book of L, issue 1 came out. So essentially, a little TLDR of what this miniseries essentially is, but it's essentially Clark with his future ancestor going on this kind of like time-bending experience to go save the two twins that he has now, Ursul and Othu. It's essentially trying to save them from the world people who are coming back to try and take them. And my god, I actually really had a lot of fun with this issue. I think that like every single book with the Summer of Superman has brought something new and interesting to the overall lore of Superman. And even though this book is coming out kind of like the latter half of it, I still think it's bringing something new and interesting to the table. Mostly because I feel like a lot of people's biggest complaints about the twins is that it seems like with how full the super family is and how little, in comparison to some other DC superhero families, they tend to not have as many books centered around the kids. They tend to not have as many books that are able to focus on the twins as their own characters. It does feel like this book is kind of trying to remedy that a little bit. And I'm excited for it. But, like, again, like, it's adding more lore to the super family. It's adding more lore with specifically the kids, who I feel like have been lacking. And I think it's going to be a really fun read overall when more issues come out. I'm probably going to be following it, but I might have a more concrete review once it's over, rather than right now when it's just beginning to start. I don't really have much else to say about this book other than, like, I had a fun time reading it. The art style's nice. I like how much it adds to the Superman lore. And I think you should definitely go check it out, especially if you're one of those people who seem kind of on the fence about the twins and their whole situation with War World. I'm also kind of interested to see if this kind of ties in somewhat to the rest of what's happening with, All In and, like, the Dark Future stuff that's, Dark Tomorrow, I guess, stuff that's happening. Because as we can see from DCKO also kind of being a tie-in to that, it seems like they're just kind of letting anything be a tie-in, which All right, man. I kind of like how this event's going. It feels more important than most crisis events, which is crazy. Yeah, I also forgot. So at the end of this issue, they also have these two like journal entries that are kind of giving a little bit more lore to what happened, because essentially with Superman traveling to the future, everyone believes somewhat that he died in the present day and has now been gone for like God knows how long. So you have like this journal entry from Kara talking about the invasion of Earth. You also have a sort of short blurb about Roman, who's Superman's like future ancestor, or you know, the last of the House of L, essentially. I think it's just overall really interesting and cool. I do feel like DC is kind of like running themselves into the wall with how many dark futures, dark tomorrows, dark whatevers, future states, all of that they have. But I do think that this one, in comparison, is going to keep things a little bit fresher, because it's clearly not going to be, it's not going to be a Batman Beyond, if you can feel me on that one.
Do you feel him, sir?
So yeah, go check it out. That's all I have to say about it. Next on my list, Cheetah and Cheshire robbed the Justice League, issue 2. Essentially in this issue, it's more they're trying to get the team together, so they're fighting all the different pieces. Leanne gets a couple good bits in there, so I'm glad that she's not, like, written out of existence again. And overall, I think that Greg Rucka is doing a very good job at handling all of these characters. Which is to say that a lot of people have been nervous about specifically his handling of Cheshire, because Greg Rucka has a history of in the past, specifically anti-Asian racism being prevalent in his writing. So, but like, again, I think that the only reason that he's doing a good job with Cheshire in this book specifically is because he's not writing her as an Asian character, he's just writing her as a character. Say what you want about that, but it's still been a fun read. I still enjoy the book. Unlike most people on DC Twitter, I can admit when a writer who has written a book I like is wrong about things without, having to go on a fucking witch hunt. We'll get to that. There's so much shit. DC has so many shitty writers. You kind of have to pick your fucking battles. Yes, you can talk about how that Gretchen Volkswagen, whatever her name is, you can talk about how she's a pro shipper, how she, like, harassed, like, incest survivors on Twitter. But, like, I don't think that you should go on as big of a witch hunt as the one that you should be going on for Thomas King. There's bigger fish to fry in the world of DC writers being terrible people. I think the trans woman who's occasionally weird on Twitter, and at best is harassing people, is a lower priority than the several war criminals that DC has on their writing staff. I don't know, Cheshire and Cheetah robbed the Justice League. It's all right. It's going good so far. We'll see when it makes it to the 6th issue arc or mark how well it is. Let's talk about the 2 cast books that released this week. First off, Batgirl issue 11. We're still going on with this thing that, like, the 3 swords are here to essentially try and get Cass to unlock something that holds, like, the secrets to her family and all this kind of stuff. And Cass is like, fuck you! And then they let it slip, like, oh, Shiva has 2 children, so Jade Tiger might be able to open it. Then the 3rd sword is revealed to be what I originally thought to be Damian's sister from the League of Assassins. It's not. It's a new-ish character, probably. I'm not too sure what her deal is, but her, Jade Tiger, and Cassandra are going out to essentially find out what this big thing that the League of Shadows and, like, all of these sword people are getting, the Legion of Blood or whatever they're called, are getting sent out to. And honestly, I do think that we have finally had confirmation that Batgirl is lasting past issue 12, so I'm very excited for that. I am getting tired of the Lady Shiva stuff, though. I think I've said this in weeks past. I feel like after a certain point, you could have condensed a lot of this into a literal mini-series called The Book of Shiva, and it probably would have been much more well-received. Because, like, while I'm enjoying these additional lore pieces to Cassandra's story, I kind of wish that Cass's comic was more focused on her. Like especially in recent years, she's had a lot more character growth than I think people give her credit for. There's a lot of stuff that still is kind of left over from the New 52 era that, like, we want to kind of, like, sort out. And just overall, like, this is the definitive Batgirl book. You know, branching off of Batgirl 2000, I feel like we need more Cass in it. And maybe we will be eventually getting more Cass in it once we get past these 12 issues, but, like, we had such a good start. Because, like, the first arc was very heavily dealing about Cass and her kind of, like, dealing with the trauma that her mom left her. And now we're kind of, it's a lot of, hey, let's deal with all of this Lady Shiva lore, and I'm getting kind of sick of it. Now, let's go on to Birds of Prey, issue 25. So,
the opening of it is so funny. It just opens with Barda in her bikini, and she's just fucking smashing rocks and a bunch of construction workers are going, yeah!
Birds of Prey has got to be one of my favorite ongoings still to this day. I feel like Kelly Thompson is getting better about it, although I do wish that, like, more Barda was in it, but, you know, beggars can't be choosers, I guess. I don't know. So, we're starting a new arc, where essentially I think the Birds of Prey have to do, like, this undercover mission to try and, like, break into, like, this video game situation, but when they essentially got gassed, it turned them all into, like, evil versions of themselves. And, like, I love the costume changes, except for Barda's. I feel like we could have done something better there, you know? It's serviceable. And I guess Black Canary's too. I don't like that she did the whole arrow thing. I don't really like that, but okay. I guess we're still pretending like that's a ship. Cass's and Sin's were really good, though. And so, you know what? I'll give the rest of them a pass. I like how Barda in general is like, I'm not built for recon, guys. Which, I feel like that should be more of a plot point than it actually is, but okay. I'm excited for this new arc. I feel like we haven't had, like, a bad arc in Birds of Prey. We've had a lot of mid ones, but there's never been outright something that made me go, oh, I'm gonna take this off my pull list, you know? So, I'm excited to see where this goes. That's the most I can say right now, because I'm sick as fuck right now. Next up, we're going to talk about the 2 Absolute books that released this week, and also just so happens to be the 2 Absolute books I took off of my pull list. That being Absolute Superman issue 11 and Absolute Green Lantern number 6. So, starting off with Green Lantern, because I probably have the least to say about it, we are getting soon the kind of showcase of Joe Mullen's wife, who seems to be a cop. We can, as lesbian fans of DC, we cannot get past the fact that every single piece of representation we have is a fucking cop. Except for, like, Natasha Irons. And even then, I don't think she's actually said her sexuality on panel. I think that they just keep on putting her with the lesbian flag for every single goddamn, like, Pride cover. So I guess they're fucking cops again. Or, like, CIA agents. Who cares? It's a fucking cop. Al Ewing, I hope you rot in hell. And also Jon Stewart's now the fucking White Lantern, question mark? I don't know, he has a bunch of lanterns around him. It's like 3 different ones. What the fuck is happening in this book anymore? Anyway, I don't regret taking it off my pull list. I feel like it has consistently been the weakest Absolute book. And unlike I took Absolute Superman off my pull list because of actual racism that they are doing towards the Al Ghuls. I took Absolute Green Lantern off my pull list because it was just fucking boring as hell. So for a while now, I kind of knew that Absolute Superman was teetering on being racist towards the Al Ghuls. I just didn't like the light that they were painting them in. And then it all kind of came to a head when they had Talia mention Damascus? Essentially, from what I have kind of gathered, a road to Damascus moment is a Christian idiom referring to epiphanies and conversion, which is just weird. And then because whenever a comic book writer is outed for being weird in a more recent comic, people go back to their previous work to see if they're continuing to be weird. We have another panel from an issue of X-Men that Jason Aaron did, where a person is essentially saying that the X-Men sent their women to humiliate these clearly Arab men, and Kitty going, oh, well, did you know I'm also Jewish? You know, like, and then there's more. There's even more of specifically him fetishizing indigenous cultures, pushing Islamophobic stereotypes, sexualizing real-life rape victims. Like, it's a lot. I can only imagine that this book is going to get worse about the Al Ghuls. I'm glad that I took it off my pull list now. Mostly so I can save space and not have a book that I clearly do not care for anymore taking up more room in my boxes. This isn't to say that, like, oh, everyone should drop Absolute Superman. I think that you should make your own fucking decisions in life. I'm just here to tell you the facts that, yeah, Jason Aaron is a Islamophobe. Do with that information what you will. Yet another DC writer gets outed as an Islamophobe. This happens a lot. In just the world of comics in general. Speaking of books that are written, actually, by a Muslim woman, Poison Ivy issue 36. I have not been keeping up with Poison Ivy at all. I've told you this. I have been buying every issue of Poison Ivy, though. And apparently, according to my good mutual Daystar, who has been reading a lot of... Well, who has pretty much been keeping up with Poison Ivy in its entirety, it is starting to get good again. So if you want to jump on, now's the time. I say this every 5 seconds. Like, honestly, fucking G. Willow Wilson is one of those extremely goated writers in the comic book industry that, like, any book that you have of hers is probably going to be good. Now, will it always be the most faithful to your characters? That's always debatable in the world of comics. You know, different interpretations, whatever editorial messes up, etc. But G. Willow Wilson's Poison Ivy's been fucking amazing. There's a reason that it's won so many awards. I know, like, the first couple of years of it is all in trades right now, so if you want to catch up, you absolutely can, and it's not going to be that hard or break the bank. But it's just overall been a good book, and I hope that more people pick it up. They also released a Poison Ivy DC Go edition for issue number 1, which I think is a great way of getting more people into these comic books, so hey, more power to you, DC. And the last book I want to talk about from DC, or at least the last one I know about from DC, Justice League vs. Godzilla vs. Kong, issue 2. Did JSA come out this week?
It's on League of Comic Games.
I forgot. So, JSA issue 11 also came out. I don't have much to say about JSA. It's been a pretty solid book. I'm not really that hyped for the fact that they're about to do JSA year 1. This issue seems to be a lot about how fucking, what's his face? Todd needs to go apeshit that his twin sister and his own father did not recognize that a clone was essentially masquerading as him, and very badly, too.
Oh my god.
Like, they just didn't fucking know. Like, it took fucking the new Hour Man showing up and being like, hey, I have the real Todd, for them to fucking realize it. Like, Todd needs to go fucking apeshit right now. Obsidian needs to fucking lose it, but I think by next issue we're going into JSA year 1, so I guess Obsidian doesn't have any time to go apeshit. Honestly, I feel like an entire, like, issue of just Obsidian going apeshit on everyone and being like, you didn't fucking know? Would be fucking great. I think I would pay extra money for that, actually, and give me a good variant with it. I'm gonna just list off these books because I'm sick. I do not feel well, and I don't have much to say about these. Justice League vs. Godzilla vs. Kong, issue 2, issue 4's out. Resurrection Man, Quantum Karma, issue 6. If you have been liking Ramby's work, I've heard good things about this. It's just not for me. And for all of you kids who should be watching who are watching my channel, first off, don't. Second off, Teen Titans Go issue 7 came out. It does have the Legion of Superheroes. Dawnstar's there. I like Dawnstar, okay? And yeah, that's kind of it for DC this week. I'm dying. And speaking of dying, there's this book from Image that I might actually check out. It's got like this cow and this little farmer on it, and it's called Everything Dead and Dying. It looks interesting. Then from Dynamite, we actually have a new Red Sandra book called Sandra Reborn, issue 1. I only mentioned this because I also wanted to bring up Red Sandra versus the Army of Darkness, which I have heard good things about. I have not sat down and read it. I have like a full collection of all the Army of Darkness comics, like sitting on my computer that I have not read yet. When I say that I also just started school. I am so like packed to back, like busy, and then also being sick. I have not had time for fucking anything. Except for that. And then of course from my favorite indie publisher, IDW, 3 like new #1 issues from IDW are Star Trek Voyager Homecoming, which seems to be a continuation of Star Trek Voyager, of course. Monster High House Hunters, which again seems to be another one of those where they repackaged a lot of the older Monster High comics to be more accessible, essentially republishing them for the new sort of audience that they have garnered for the Monster High comics, which I've been hearing are really good. And this other book called Blood Honey, where it's like a preparatory high school where like this couple is deciding to murder everyone. They called it Burden-esque. I would much rather call it, like, Heathers. But that seems interesting. I really need to start keeping up with just more books in general. I'm done with this, so you can take your laptop back. I'm sorry, I had to use Stack's laptop because, it's not working on my phone, and if I move my laptop, everything breaks. Okay, so I do have a couple of announcements. So all 32 participants of DCKO and the initial bracket came out. Well, the 32 participants came out last week. The bracket came out this week. So just to give you an idea of who the first kind of like battles are, so we have Superman versus Giganta, which, okay, I guess. Captain Atom versus Power Girl, which if Power Girl doesn't sweep, I don't know what we're going to do. Guy Gardner versus Firestorm. My pick is Firestorm, because I don't see Guy Gardner winning. I forgot to mention, the title's fucking King Omega. And, like, under normal circumstances, Guy Gardner could win that, but not this one. Then we have Jay Garrick versus Cheetah. I do feel like, unfortunately, a lot of these later brackets are going to be very male-dominated, so I do think Jay is going to end up on top. Aquaman versus King Shark, which, okay, I guess. I don't really care that much for that one. Connor Hawk versus Hawkman. It seems like they're teaming up a lot of people based off of, like, names, which is weird. Like, Power Girl and Captain Atom, they at least have some history on the JLI, or JLA, whatever you want to call it. But then, like, Guy Gardner and Firestorm seems completely random, except for the fact that I guess, like, the only connection I can make is that half of Firestorm is a school teacher, and Guy Gardner used to be a school teacher. But I know that no one at DC was thinking of that. Lex Luthor versus Black Lightning. The Demon Etrigan versus Supergirl, Wonder Woman versus Starro, which if Wonder Woman doesn't win, then what the fuck are we doing here? Lobo versus Plastic Man, which why? Swamp Thing versus Vixen, another why? Cyborg versus Batwoman. Every single, like, lineup, okay, so it's Cyborg versus Batwoman, Batman versus Star Sapphire, which, like, Daystar is having a field day. Red Hood versus Damian Wayne, why is there a child here? And then Harley Quinn versus Metamorpho. I feel like all the Gotham people should naturally be at a disadvantage versus, like, actual superpowers, especially when everyone's only allowed one item into this tournament. But I know that they're all gonna end up much further along in the tournament than, like, anyone predicts, and it's gonna be upsetting. It's going to be physically upsetting. And then the last one, Zatanna versus Berta. I don't know. Everything about this bracket seems bad. Like, even when they announced, like, the initial, like, 32 contestants, it seemed bad. Because, again, why the fuck are so many people from Gotham here? Like, they're at a natural disadvantage. Like, no one else in this, like, and same with Connor, too. Like, Connor Hawk versus Hawkman is like Hydrogen Bomb versus Coughing Baby. Who decided this? But in better and brighter news, a leak happened at a convention that Scott Snyder was at, where he said that Absolute Zatanna is coming to the Absolute Universe. Whether that's in her own book or if she's going to be coming in Wonder Woman solo, which seems most likely just because of how much Wonder Woman solo has been dealing with magic. Who's to say at this point? But Scott Snyder did in fact confirm that Absolute Zatanna is coming at some point, which is really cool. I'm glad that like the Absolute Universe isn't just like Zatanna's popular, yes. She was on the fucking Justice League forever. But, like, she's not as popular as some of the other picks that they've made for the Absolute Universe. So I'm really glad that, like, they're not just picking based off of popularity, but they're also picking based off of what makes the most sense story-wise. So I'm really excited to see what the hell Absolute Zatanna entails. Maybe it's a Zatanna where she finally has both of her parents and her dad's not fucking abusive. Also, apparently Kelly Thompson has also had a quote about, she said, for example, down the line when Zatanna becomes part of the Absolute Universe. So maybe she knew something, maybe she didn't know anything. It does seem the more likely scenario is if Zatanna's in the Absolute Universe, she will show up in Absolute Wonder Woman. And I'm just excited for that. I love me some good Zatanna. Go read Mariko Tamaki's Bring Down the House and Jamal Campbell's most recent Zatanna mini. They're both good. Also Zatanna by Paul Dini, but like I don't like men. I guess Jamal Campbell's also a man. I don't like Paul Dini. I should be more specific about that. Anyway, that's kind of it for an episode of Last Week in Comics. Up here is your next recommended video is an episode of Ash and Their Fantastic Friends, my live show I do every Saturday, 9 p.m. EST. Is it another episode of Last Week in Comics? Is it a YouTube short? Is it a video I haven't even published yet? I don't fucking know. No one tells me shit. Down here is the rest of the playlist for Last Week in Comics. I've been doing this since November 2024. So there's going to be a lot more stuff down there. You can see my original setup when I was in college. It's a lot. And then I don't want to take my arm out of the cover, but over here is going to be the subscribe button. I'm having more videos coming up. I have to, God, school is like so much. I'm working on the Wyatt Wingfoot video essay. If he didn't have 2 more appearances like this year, I probably would have. I need to start it again. It's a whole thing. Holy shit, there's Star Trek on the Roku. And then honestly, I'm still gonna do those videos about collecting comics. I just have not made it out to my local comic book shop, where my school is, to pick up some single issues. I will have that video done. I want to start showing you guys how to collect comics because I'm a comics first channel. I don't give a fuck about adaptations. I'm solely here for the comics. Also because I want to make that video where I shit on comic book grading for like 20 minutes because I really do think I think most grading companies are fucking scams, okay? Like, if you're into, like, Pokemon grading, if you're into fucking, like, comic book grading, like, the only case I can justify comic book grading is if it's a variant, and even then, that's a very specific case, and it depends on the fucking variant. But that's all gonna be in a video, hopefully. So please, subscribe. I'm done talking because I want to go lay down and take a nap. Alright, I'm gonna do this with the blanket. And cut.